After my family laughed at me for being their wallet, I stopped paying their bills. Now they're desperate, and I'm free to live my truth. I was sitting in my living room scrolling through Instagram when I got the text from my cousin Kim. Check. Your email ASAP, it said with a skull emoji. No explanation, just urgency. When I opened the attachment, my whole world flipped upside down faster than a Jeep on black ice. An audio recording from last weekend's family BBQ that I'd missed because I was working too much. At least that's what they told me. Turns out they just didn't want their cash cow around while they talked smack. She's basically our walking ATM. My sister Brianna's voice crackled through my AirPods. I just mentioned I might get evicted or whatever, and boom, direct deposit hits my account the next day. Laughter erupted in the background. Our little golden goose, my dad chimed in. Always was too nice for her own good. It's not even that hard, Brianna continued. She makes bank at her tech job while I'm out here living my best life on her dime. Why work when your sister's such a pushover? My cousin Kim sent another text. They made me delete it, but I saved it first. Thought you should know. I sat there, frozen, my half-eaten Chipotle bowl getting cold on the coffee table. 28 years old, and I'd been bankrolling these people for years, putting my own dreams on hold while they laughed behind my back. The kicker? I'd been saving for my own startup, stretching every dollar of my software engineer salary, living in a basic apartment with IKEA furniture while sending them thousands each month. All while Brianna posted Instagram stories from Coachella and my dad cruised around in his new Ford F-150. Talk about a wake-up call. Looking back, I should have caught on sooner. There was always some emergency. Brianna's rent was late, again. Dad's credit card was maxed out. Mom needed dental work insurance wouldn't cover. I'd been transferring money like it was nothing, thinking I was being the responsible one, the family hero. That night, I pulled up my bank statements from the past year. Nearly $43,000 gone, enough for a down payment on a house or seed money for my business idea. I'd been living on ramen and Trader Joe's frozen meals while Brianna was dropping cash on designer bags and weekend trips to Vegas. What really got me was remembering all the times I'd mentioned my startup dreams, and they'd brush it off. That's nice, honey, but what about something more stable, Dad would say, right before asking for just a little help with his car payment. I poured myself a glass of cheap Cabernet and made a decision right then and there. No more Miss Nice Girl, no dramatic confrontation, no angry phone calls. I was gonna play this smart. The next morning, like clockwork, my phone buzzed. Dad asking if I could float him a few hundred for a credit card payment. Money's a bit tight right now, I texted back, my heart racing like I'd just chugged 3 Red Bulls. Come on, you're our superstar, he replied. Just this once. I left him on read and turned my phone off for the entire day. For the first time in forever, I felt like I could breathe. That evening, my inbox exploded with messages from Brianna, each one more desperate than the last. Dad said you're being weird about money. Hello? I need to pay rent by Friday. You're being super selfish right now. Call me. I poured another glass of wine and smiled. Let them panic. Update. Y'all, the support has been insane. I'm reading. Every comment and feeling stronger with each one. Never realized how many people have been through similar family drama. Someone asked if I confronted them with the recording. Not yet, but things are heating up. My sister just showed up at my door unannounced. Should I play the recording while she's here or keep my cards close? The next week was pure chaos. Dad called 16 times, each voicemail more guilt-trippy than the last. I might have to declare bankruptcy, he warned, like that was supposed to make me cave. Mom, who'd been relatively innocent in all this, started texting about how the family is falling apart and how I needed to be the bigger person. Brianna was the worst. She showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday night, mascara streaked down, her face like she'd just walked off the set of a teenage drama. What is your problem? She demanded, pushing past me into my living room. Dad said you're cutting us off. I'm about to get evicted. I crossed my arms. Maybe try paying your own rent with your own job? I'm between opportunities right now, she snapped, eyeing my place like she was calculating how much everything cost. You know that. You've been between opportunities for 3 years, I said, while posting about your trips to Miami. Her face hardened. So that's what this is about? You're jealous? I laughed out loud, couldn't help it. Jealous of what? Living off my paychecks? We're family, she said, playing her trump card. We help each other. That's when I pulled out my phone. Funny you should mention family, I said, hitting play on the recording. Her face went from fake concern to shock to fury in about 3 seconds flat. Where did you get that? You weren't even there. Does it matter? I asked. Is it true or not? It's not what you think, she backpedaled faster than a cornerback. We were just joking around. Hilarious, I said, opening my door again. You can leave now. I need $2,000 by Friday, she yelled, dropping the act completely. Sounds like a personal problem, I replied. Maybe ask your walking. ATM? Oh wait, she's closed for business. After she left, I sat on my IKEA couch feeling like I'd just run a marathon. My hands were shaking, but man, it felt good to finally stand up for myself. The next day, I took it up a notch. I compiled a spreadsheet of every penny I'd sent them over the years, complete with dates, amounts, and their supposed emergencies. Dad's fishing boat down payment, Brianna's career coaching that she never attended, Mom's kitchen remodel that somehow became my responsibility. I added up the grand total, $87,750 over 4 years. Then I sent it to all of them in one email with the subject line, Family Financial Statement, Final Notice. In the body, I wrote, as per the attached documentation, I've provided financial assistance totaling $87,650 since 2021. Effective immediately, I will no longer be available as a financial resource. This decision is non-negotiable. Please make alternative arrangements for your expenses going forward. Professional, cold, and absolutely necessary. The family group chat exploded. Dad insisted I was exaggerating the numbers. I wasn't. Brianna claimed half those expenses were loans she was planning to pay back. She wasn't. Mom just sent crying emojis. I left the chat and blocked their numbers. The next week was eerily quiet. I kept waiting for the other Nike to drop, but nothing came. No dramatic confrontations, no family members camping outside my door. Just silence. I used the time to finally focus on my startup idea, a budgeting app, ironically enough, designed for people recovering from financial abuse. I'd been coding it in my spare time for months, and now I could finally give it the attention it deserved. 2 weeks after the email, my cousin Kim reached out. Just FYI, Brianna's telling everyone you abandoned the family because you're having a mental breakdown, she texted. Your dad's saying you're being manipulated by toxic internet advice. I snorted. Classic. Thanks for the heads up, I replied. And for having my back. No prob, she wrote back. For what it's worth, I think you're badass. Also, Brianna had to move back home with your parents, and they're already at each other's throats. That night, I ordered Thai food. The expensive kind with the fancy appetizers, and didn't feel guilty about spending money on myself for once. While I scrolled through Netflix looking for something to watch, I realized my chest didn't feel tight anymore. The constant anxiety that had been my companion for years had finally begun to fade. Maybe this was what freedom felt like. Update. The plot thickens. Just when I thought things were cooling down, I found out my family's been spreading rumors about me having some kind of breakdown. Meanwhile, I'm over here thriving and working on my app. Some of you asked about my mom. She's been caught in the middle, but just texted asking to meet for coffee. Just us. I'm conflicted. Is this a genuine olive branch or another manipulation tactic? Has anyone navigated reconnecting with the less toxic family members? A month passed. I moved to a slightly nicer apartment, one with a balcony where I could have my morning coffee while actually enjoying the view, instead of stressing about which family member would hit me up for cash that day. I bought some plants. I joined a kickboxing class. I started dating this guy Jake who worked at a local brewery and didn't have a clue about my family drama. Life was good. Different, but good. Then came the wedding invitation. My cousin Rachel was getting married in the fall, which meant I'd have to face the entire family, including Brianna and my parents. For a hot minute, I considered not going. Rachel and I had been close growing up, but family events were Brianna's specialty, turning everything into a drama with her at the center. I could already picture the scene she'd cause. But then I thought, why should I miss my cousin's wedding because of them? I wasn't the one who'd done anything wrong. So I RSVP'd yes, and bought a killer dress from Nordstrom, the kind of dress I'd always talked myself out of before because that money could help Brianna with her car payment or whatever. The week before the wedding, Mom called. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. Hi, honey, she said, her voice smaller than I remembered. Are you coming to Rachel's wedding? Yes, I said, keeping it brief. Your father, and I will be there. And Brianna, I figured. A pause. She had to move back home. It's been challenging. I bet it had. Brianna was never easy to live with even when we were kids. Always the center of attention. Always the one whose needs came first. That's tough, I said, not offering more. She's been having a hard time. Finding a job, Mom continued. The economy and all. I waited for the ask, the hint that I should help out, just this once. But it didn't come. Instead, Mom sighed. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, with the recording and everything. And? I prompted. I'm sorry, she said, her voice cracking. I should have stepped in. I knew they were taking advantage, but your father, well, you know how he gets. It wasn't enough, not by a long shot, but it was something. I appreciate that, I said carefully. Maybe we could get coffee sometime? Just us? I thought about it. Maybe, I'll let you know. The wedding day arrived, perfect fall weather with leaves just starting to turn. I drove to the venue alone, my stomach in knots. As I parked my car, a new Honda I'd bought myself, nothing, fancy but all mine. I took a deep breath and reminded myself how far I'd come. I was financially secure for the first time in my adult life. My app was in beta testing with promising feedback. I had actual savings. No one could take that from me. The ceremony was beautiful. I managed to avoid my immediate family by sitting with Kim and her boyfriend, but at the reception there was no escaping it. I was at a table with my parents, Brianna, and a few distant relatives who had no idea about our drama. Dad barely looked at me, focusing intensely on his steak like it held the secrets of the universe. Brianna glared between taking selfies for her Instagram. Mom kept trying to make awkward small talk. So, Aunt Debbie asked, oblivious to the tension, how's everyone been? Great, I said, taking a sip of champagne. I'm launching a startup next month. You could have heard a pin drop at our table. A startup? Dad repeated, finally looking at me. With what money? I smiled. My money, Brianna snorted. Must be nice to be so selfish with your resources. Brianna, Mom warned. What? My sister challenged. She abandoned us when we needed her most. Now she's blowing money on some app that'll probably fail anyway. I kept my cool, channeling my inner girl boss. Actually, we just secured initial funding from an angel investor. But thanks for the vote of confidence. Dad's eyebrows shot up. Someone invested in your idea? The surprise in his voice said it all. They'd never believed in me. Not really. $500,000, I confirmed, enjoying the shock on their faces. Turns out I'm pretty good with money when I'm not giving it all away. Brianna's face turned an interesting shade of red. So you're rich now, and you still won't help your own family? Classy. I leaned in slightly. No, I just finally learned the difference between helping and enabling. That's not fair, Dad started. Actually, I cut him off. What's not fair is calling your daughter a walking ATM behind her back while taking her money. What's not fair is making her feel responsible for grown adults who refuse to manage their own finances. The distant relatives were suddenly very interested in their desserts. Eyes down, but ears definitely tuned in. We're still your family, Dad said, his voice gruff. And I'm still your daughter, I replied, not your bank. I stood up, smoothing my dress. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to dance now. I spent the rest of the night avoiding them, dancing, with Kim and some old friends, even sharing a slow dance with one of the groomsmen who gave me his number afterward. Every time I caught Brianna or my dad looking my way, I smiled and raised my champagne glass slightly. Message received, update. Wedding day showdown happened. Y'all were right. They tried to make me feel guilty in front of the whole family, but I stood my ground. And guess what? My startup just got funded. Some of you asked if I'll ever reconcile with them. Honestly, I'm taking it day by day. My mom seems genuinely sorry, but Dad and Brianna are another story. Anyone been through family reconciliation that actually worked? P.S. Thanks for riding this crazy train with me. Your support made all the difference when I felt like backing down. That was 6 months ago. My app launched to positive reviews, and while I'm not exactly Mark Zuckerberg yet, we're growing steadily. I rented a small office space downtown and hired 3 people. I bought my first houseplant that wasn't from the clearance section at Walmart. I started therapy. Mom and I meet for coffee once a month. It's awkward sometimes, but we're working on building something new. She stopped asking for money and actually seems interested in my business. Baby steps. Dad came around eventually, in his own way. He showed up at my office one day, looking uncomfortable in the startup environment with its exposed brick walls and people on exercise balls instead of chairs. Nice place, he said, hands in his pockets. Thanks, I replied, waiting. He cleared his throat. Your mother says your app thing is doing well. It is. A long pause. I'm proud of you, he finally said. Should have said that more before. It wasn't an apology exactly, but from my dad, it was something. Brianna is still Brianna. She got a job at a boutique downtown and started dating some guy with a trust fund, so she's found a new source of income. She sent me a friend request on Instagram last week. I'm still deciding whether to accept it. The other day, I was approved for a mortgage, something that would have been impossible when I was supporting everyone else. As I signed the paperwork for my very first home, I thought about how different things could have been if I'd never heard that recording. I might still be working overtime to pay Brianna's rent, still putting my dreams on hold, still feeling that constant knot of anxiety every time my phone buzzed with a notification. Instead, I'm building something of my own. Setting boundaries, discovering who I am when I'm not defined by what I can give to others. Some days, I still feel guilty. That's what happens when you've been conditioned your whole life to put everyone else first. My therapist says it'll take time to fully reprogram those thoughts. But then I remember Brianna's voice on that recording. Why work when your sister's such a pushover? I'm not a pushover anymore. Not a wallet or an ATM or a golden goose. Just me. Finally living my truth on my own terms, without apology. And let me tell you, it feels better than a cold beer on a hot summer day.